Hey everybody, the Super Vader 400 here, Douglas Blair Roberts, and of course the brown skinned human coming back at you with another video, and for the first time in a while, another rant. And this time, this is my rant. This is the first part. This is the first part and intro portion to a brand new video series following my tribute to the deceased people. Deceased people. This is called Various People Who Suck. This is a rant on various people I think suck. Not everyone who has died deserves a full-on tribute. They deserve half of a rant, because a lot of these people who I want to pay tribute to were terrible people when they were alive and basically got their comeuppance later in life. Then there are the other ones who are still alive, who haven't kicked the bucket yet, who are just terrible people and need to rant on. And since I don't see a lot of people ranting on and really talking about these people, I will be one of the first to rant on and talk about these people. The very first one on this list is lame '90s gangster rapper Willie D of the Ghetto Boys, and also former boxer. I've been following this guy. I first heard about this guy in 2016 with Sotomayor, and since there are no rants on this guy, and I'm sick of this guy and his lame pro-black attitude. I hate people like him, and since there are no rants on him, and the only one rant that was on him was Sotomayor's got removed, I decided to upload one. So, with that being said, let's get this video started right now. You can. Time for the second part of my rant on Willie D, another lame pro-black. This, of course, is Willie D of the Ghetto Boys, rapper and boxer from the 90s. He's another arrogant, lame pro-black who, I can't stand pro-blacks. Pro-blacks. They're always talking about and bringing up racism, shoving their ideology down other people's throats, and attacking people who don't think like them, who do not share their ideology, and they're so pro-black, all they ever do is fight and attack other pro-blacks. You never really see them fighting any form of white person, and when they do fight white supremacy or white person, it's always a weak white person who is a pacifist and can't or won't defend themselves. They never go after any of the so-called people. They never go after any of the so-called people committing the crimes because they're afraid to. They know they're gonna get their butts kicked. They never go after the tough ones. They always go after the weaker ones. And I'm getting sick of people. I'm getting sick of people like him. Real Afro-Americans need to move away from trash like him, and some of us are starting to. Then I'm also sick of people like Willie D. People like him, a guy who was a guy who was expelled from school for fighting and never returned to school, never returned to school, never quote unquote returned to school. Pretty much a high school dropout, now trying to speak, now trying to be a world leader, now trying to be a world leader and speak about the problems of Afro Americans. You are not qualified to do that. You are not qualified to do that. A lame 90s ghetto rapper, street based rapper, not a conscious rapper like Chuck D. What's the other guy's name? Chuck D. And oh yeah, Flavor Flav, like Public Enemy, Public Enemy, Public Enemy, or real inspirations like people like MC Hammer or Run DMC. People like these are people who should have been and could have been leaders in the Afro American community. People like Willie D aren't. I'm sick of people like him. This sick of people like him. He's the same as them all. T.I., the late great Tupac Shakur in the early '90s. In the early '90s, before he got shot and sent to prison, was trying to be all hood, street, and gangster, but was also trying to be pro-black and conscious, pro-black and conscious while using thug iconography and power and thug life this and what's the other one? Oh yeah, outlaw, like the guy said in the All Eyes on Me movie, the guy with the glasses in the All Eyes on Me movie. Yeah, I'm sick of people. I'm sick of rappers and people like that. Then rappers like him. You look up his legal trouble. You look up his legal trouble. You look up his legal trouble. One of them mentions him holding up a store. Him holding up a store. These guys who did more harm to Afro Americans communities back in the day, trying to be conscious and trying to speak and trying to speak on politics and stuff stuff like that, who have no qualification. They did more harm with their music and their crimes. Willie D, you held up this idiot held up a store. That was one of his. You and your friends robbed and held up a store. That was one of your biggest that was one of your biggest crimes. You did more harm to the Afro American community, and you have no authority to speak on me or anyone of this generation generation. I'm just sick of people like him and his generations. He's the first on the new part 1 series I introduced. This several celebrities. These are celebrities who suck. This is pretty much a follow-up to my tribute to the deceased people, but not everyone who has died deserves a full-length tribute. No, there's gonna be some respect, but there's also gonna be lots of ranting, because these people were terrible people when they were alive. Then for the ones who haven't died yet, they're gonna get it even harder. Who are still alive, like Demi Lovato, people like this. But I just can't stand Willie D. And he's always attacking people who don't support his ideology. He wished death on Charles Barkley, Stephen A. Smith, and the rest. When Kobe Bryant died, he had the audacity to wish death on Charles Barkley, because Charles Barkley has spoke out against the Afro American community, which these people right here, the conservatives, they are the true pro-blacks. People like me, Sotomayor, and Jesse Lee Peterson are straight up racist, but those other conservatives, those are the real pro-blacks. They talk about the real issues, the real problems. Yes, white supremacy is a thing, but it is not the threat. It is not the biggest threat. It is not the biggest threat out there. The biggest threat to an Afro-American is another Afro-American, a female, Me Too, and feminist. Those are bigger threats. Those are what I want to battle. Those are what I want to combat and battle. And these phony, fake pro-blacks and poverty pimps, like Maxine Waters, like Umar Johnson, and like what's that other? Oh yeah, Al Sharpton, Al Not So Sharp Sharpton. These are threat, constantly promoting bigotry, constantly bringing up and promoting racism and always being around when cops kill Afro Americans, but never around in these neighborhoods to try to clean up, these neighborhoods. Which brings to my last point. Then he's one of these people from the past who's 50, he was 50 plus years old, almost 55 years old, still pretending it's the 90s, trying to claim third war and trying to claim gangster shit. Still trying to pretend this guy is gangster. This guy is still trying to pretend he's quote unquote gangster. And yeah, he's 55 plus years old. Then he's another guy who is repeating the same mistakes of his generation and has nothing positive to offer the future and current generations. And like I said, just needs to go away. And I want to be the one to do that. I want to be the one to do that. He's a boxer. He's a boxer. He's a boxer. He's a boxer. I want a 1 to 3 round exhibition match with this boxing match with this guy. Another problem I have with him. He talks about putting his hands on people who can or won't fight, like Michael Jordan and Charles Barkley and Stephen A. Smith. Stephen A. Smith talk about killing them. Well, I can fight a little bit, and I will be more than happy to kick this motherfucker's ass. I am the one you call when you need your ass kicked. Call Douglas Blair Roberts, the brown-skinned human, the Super Vader 400, the ass-kicking machine. Contact me. I will be more than happy to kick your ass and send you to the hospital, and wherever you came from with a crimson mask and broken bones. I'll send you to an early retirement home or an early grave inside that boxing ring. I'm sick of people like him. So yeah, I'm gonna challenge him to a fight, and I'm gonna attack him in my musical career. I have an edgier street gangster type fighter gimmick to go alongside, to follow up and go alongside my more gimmicky, flamboyant rock and roll musical based character, and I'm gonna make several diss tracks responding to his coon and attacking him and people like him. So yeah, I can't stand Willie D. Willie D's the same age as my uncle, and close to the age of my father, and still talking about gangster shit, man. Sick of people like him. Willie D, Snoop Dogg, T.I., late great Tupac Shakur, DMX. Sick of people like him who do more harm to the Afro American community, but now want to be conscious and deep. We're talking about thug life back in the 90s and probably did more harm to Afro American communities than any white person, but now want to be all talking about politics, man. Yeah, man. And I'm just sick of it, man. So yeah, he sucked as a professional boxer too. He was a amateur boxer. Son was a professional boxer. In two out of the 3 fights he had, got his butt knocked down in the first round. Guy sucks. Probably one of the worst boxers ever. Probably the only boxer I don't respect. So it's my rant on. See, this is my short rant on Willie D. Then his Candace Owens stuff. Oh yeah, him attacking Candace Owens because Candace Owens does not support losers, lowly scum like George Floyd, Ma'Khia Bryant, and Breonna Taylor, and saying just because Candace Owens brought up their criminal past. Oh, that supposedly doesn't justify their murder. It does justify their murder. First of all, karma happens to anyone. You reap what you sow, and this is every criminal or person who has met a violent end. Just about every person I know who's met a violent end, I've seen who has met a violent end. They've all did bad things, and those bad things caught up to them later. If you commit a crime, you might escape and get away with this crime, but down the road later, this crime you did it will come back on you. Only you'll get it from a different crime. This is what happened to all of them. Mike Brown, not Mike Brown, Trayvon Martin, Freddie Gray, George Floyd, Breonna Taylor, Ma'Khia Bryant, Sandra Bland, all of these people. There are more. Each of these people were in the midst. We're in the midst of we're basically career criminals. We're basically career criminals. And yeah, and when people look up he's trying to say them looking up their past doesn't justify their murder. Yes, it does. Because when you look up their past, it shows you why they committed this crime right here. Because nothing was done about the other crimes they committed. Nothing was done about the other crimes they committed. And yes, we should not celebrate people like George Floyd. Yes, a joke that people like George Floyd, Ma'Khia Bryant, and many more will be held in the same high regard as people like Malcolm X and Martin Luther King Jr. People who have actually done real legitimate things for Afro Americans. Didn't get the audacity to attack Ben Carson. Ben Carson, a brain surgeon guy, a popular brain surgeon guy, and a guy who shielded people during the riots. The riots back in the day. Once again, a guy who did real heroic stuff. Then he got this lame 90s gangster hood street rapper not only trying to be conscious but attack successful people. Yeah, I can't stand people like Willie D. Can't stand people like Willie D, Silly D. I did this rant because the only person I ever truly ran on him was my boy Tommy Sotomayor, but that video got taken down. This one won't. So yeah, this was this was Willie D. Oh yeah, then he also, when he got his old channel suspended from YouTube, tried to quote unquote do a YouTube press conference. But going back to Candace Owens, just checking the time. Going back to Candace Owens, yeah, then he tried to bring up Candace Owens' past, trying to say, when Candace Owens said racism doesn't exist, trying to bring up her past, trying to call her out on hypocrisy where she sued a school. Yeah, I was wrong. I don't agree with that one bit. But that was Candace Owens. That's when she, just like us and probably the rest of us conservatives. That's when we were younger. We're brainwashed. We're brainwashed to believe in victimhood. We're brainwashed by the previous generations to believe in victimhood, to believe when something bad happens to you, it's the fault of other races instead of yourself. We're taught not to take responsibility for what's named and how and various other things. She grew up and realized the actual problems. And changed her ways. That's what happened. There was no plan. There was no her being a paid informant by being a paid informant by anyone. Oh yeah, whites and every Afro-American. A lot of people agree with Candace Owens, but there's nothing to do with a paid informant. And I like how when we're talking about how great Afro-Americans are, it's true. But as soon as we bring up your problems and real issues, not only are we Uncle Toms, coons, sellouts, but we're paid informants. You get the fuck out of here, man. Fuck out of here. So yeah, this has been my rant on Willie D. Can't stand people like him. If once again you got a problem with what I'm just saying, feel free to do something about it, because as always, I am the one you call when you need your ass kicked. Call the Super Vader 400. Call Douglas Blair Roberts. Call the brown skinned human. Call the ass kicking machine, and I will be more than happy to kick your ass. I will correct what your forefathers and parents didn't do, and that's beat your ass from here to thy kingdom come. Well, you don't want to hear the rest of this music? Turn the video off right now.
Like a million faces, I recognize them